republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, good evening, everybody. We have a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I move the board approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Jen? Yes. AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we are, normally we would have honoring excellence at this time of the evening, but this is summer and our students are enjoying the last bit of it, and so we are skipping over honoring excellence, which will probably come back next month, but we do have public comment next, so I don't know if we have any public comment tonight, if we have any blue cards or anything. Nothing? Okay, well then we will skip right on over that to our consent agenda, item 4. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of a board by a single motion. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member.
I move the board approve consent agenda items 4.1 through 4.7.
Second.
Jen? Yes. AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. I think we move to, I gotta scroll on down. Is that administrative reports that are next?
Yeah,
All
section
right.
5.
Let's go.
Reports from administration. First off, 5.1 will be innovation and learning with Dr. Julie Moore.
Good evening.
Good
Hi.
evening.
I do not have a lot tonight, but since last time we were wrapping up summer school, but we have done so, and so again want to thank everyone who helped make summer school successful this year. Also, we were able to host our annual Kansas and Missouri Arts Integration Symposium at Liberty North last week as part of our Kennedy Center partnership. We appreciate being able to do that each year and appreciate everyone who is able to come to that event this year, focused on design thinking for our students. Recently, we also had our end of the year school links review. As you know, we are adding elementary to that. I wanted to share a couple of our successes with that. We had 100% ICAP completion, which is obviously important part of MSIT, but also just important as 8th graders are going into 9th grade, that they have a plan of study as they enter high school and get ready for that. And we also had 95% of our seniors do end of the year activity completion, which is also that they do a survey which is focused on the graduate profile, asking how we kind of help prepare them for life beyond high school. With some other things. We're excited about that. Also, we are in the top quartile across the country for student usage for all schools that use school links. So we thought that was great. Moving into next year, our goals are to increase parent activity. That was pretty low, but we have found just from talking to parents who are actually also teachers that they just look at their kids' their school links, and so we're going to work on some marketing for that, and then also as part of our strategic plan we are implementing the portfolios K-8 and then the digital wallet. I was actually able to look at a couple of digital wallets for current seniors. I may have pulled up a certain superintendent's son's digital wallet today. He may not even know he has it, but it was
Probably
super
not.
cool. He's got 5 badges in there, and it looked pretty neat. So we're going to start working on that and marketing that to students and how they can actually use that when they graduate. And
Will that be linked through school links? Is that something through school links, or is that
it
separate?
is.
Okay.
It is, yes.
Okay.
So
Sorry
the
for
next piece
interrupting.
will be like, just again, how they can use that, how we can get that on their phones, how when they go out to start looking for jobs maybe, and talking to colleges and such, how they can kind of just show that and talk about some of their experiences. And then the only other thing is, we're prepping for next year. It's end of July. July seems to go really fast. So I'm starting to work on preliminary data that is coming in from the state. We have round 2 of principal retreat. We had one right after school got out, so we'll have round 2 coming up. We are prepping for walkthrough, so we will have a schedule to you here in the next couple of weeks. And then principals are going through just several trainings just to prepare them for the upcoming school year. So that is all I have. If you have any questions, I will take them.
Any questions of Dr. Moore?
On this risk discipline reports for schools, as I understand it, you just now have gotten the format that you're going to use to gather the information. Is there any expectations of what you're going to be looking for? Is there some signs or signals, or is it just you've got to collect the data and then look at it?
We typically will go through and then we'll sit down and we kind of have a format and then we sit down with everyone and kind of look at, have some questions that we have everybody look at the same questions and have them kind of reflect on those, and then what are the same things that what are they seeing, and then looking at kind of gender, all of those subgroups, and then what are they seeing, and then having some of those questions. Bob Citro did a great book study with on boys, just talking about how boys getting in trouble, and how do we look at that versus, and why. So just some of those type of things, and then having the conversations if one school maybe look much different than another school. Yeah. So we do look very carefully just at each school and making sure that if there's outliers, how do we address that?
And the ability for them to learn from each other in terms of here's what we do in these instances or these issues. And appreciate Bob in the 4th floor entirely for looking at this every year and pulling that data forward, because you can compare year upon year as well.
Okay.
So we've done some of
Yeah,
that.
you can look at it and just see if something drastically changes, like why did that happen, and what may have caused that, and then let's go back and have a conversation. But we will have conversations as an elementary team, as a middle school team, as a high school team, and then he's really good about, he usually gives each school their data separately, and then we'll have conversations with them separately so that they can kind of digest it themselves, and then have a conversation as a group.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions of Dr. Moore? Just want to underscore the learner wallet concept, and that is relatively new, but there's a lot of discussion nationally happening around that, so I appreciate her and her team being early to the conversation. And so keep in mind, like if you've ever had to request a transcript from a high school or a university for a job application or for that next degree, the notion being that all of this content then becomes portable to you. Just like your Apple Wallet, if you've got a boarding pass or a credit card or a Starbucks card downloaded to that, all of that is at your fingertips. And so that's kind of where this is headed in terms of making that readily available portfolio. So a lot of work has been done, but we still have more to come. So thanks to Dr. Moore for leading that conversation. So, thanks, Dr. Moore.
Yep,
Thank you, Dr. Moore.
5.2 then, we will welcome Dr. Andrea Dixon-Sehorn to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to just share a couple of things on behalf of the directors of the various departments that are represented in this report. So for Rebecca Bressman and her team, we just wanted to note that as of last Thursday, that kind of was our timestamp to collect the data to report to you for the board report. But as of last Thursday, we have about 65% of our returning student population that is fully registered for the upcoming school year. And for kindergarten, again, as of last Thursday, the number was at 648. That could have changed since then. And so our goal is 100% of our returning students to be registered and ready to go by the first day of school. So we'll continue to communicate that to families working with the Public Information Office to just make sure that folks know, hey, we want you to get fully registered so we can all be ready to go on the first day of school.
Do you happen to know
I'm
how
sorry?
that compares to last year at this time, roughly? Are
We do
tracking
know,
similarly, or-
we do know this number is lower
It is
than
a
last year
little
for
bit
kindergarten.
Oh, for kindergarten.
For kindergarten, it's lower.
What about the percentage of enrollment?
The percentage, I'm not able to tell you right now, but I
Yeah.
can tell you in the morning of the comparative. But yes, we are keeping track of this for month to month,
Yeah.
especially since we now have opened up enrollment as of May 1st.
Right.
And this is our second year doing
Right.
that. So I absolutely can give you that number. I don't know if it's about the same in terms of the percentage, but our goal is that it's continuing to increase
Right.
and get higher and higher as more families understand we're opening up this process sooner. So yeah, go ahead and get them enrolled, especially before the summer vacation that ensued when we opened it up in May. But I can definitely share that with you if you'd like. I can send you an email.
Okay.
Okay. Also, with respect to special programs, we're very excited about the Trauma Smart program. This is going to be the second year of implementation for our district, but we did have an orientation session on yesterday because although it is year 2 of implementation, we did switch out some schools that participated. So we will have Alexander Donovan, Kelly Brook, and it's not Lewis and Clark, it is Lillian Schumacher. It's indicated in the report incorrectly, so we'll be sure to clean that up, but it is Lillian Schumacher. The new school this year is Alexander Donovan, so I wanted to just make note of that. So in the orientation session, which was held on Monday, July the 14th, we had an opportunity for district leaders, community leaders, building teams to be in attendance to learn more about the partnership that we now have with Crittenton Trauma Smart and how we'll support each school's trauma-informed journey. So we had about 23 team members there. We want to thank Jen. She was in attendance on that day, sat next to me, and we were learning together. And we also had several directors from various departments, not only student equity and access, but innovation and learning, safety and security, health services, human resources, school-age care, school leaders, and then also Dr. Moore was present as well. So we're just very excited about continuing this journey as a collaborative learning process for all of us, and that this will be truly, truly, truly beneficial for all of our schools, school leadership teams, teachers, and most importantly for students. So we will continue to keep you updated on that. For special services, we're very excited to officially welcome Dr. Alexis Stark as our new Director of Special Services. As you know, Dr. Cook has moved on to another district in a promotion, a new role, and so we're very excited now to have Dr. Stark with us, and she has hit the pavement running. And so she's already spent time in buildings with school leaders, getting to understand their schools, their communities, and also is already in meetings with fellow directors. And so she is just moving forward and just kind of continuing the work from where it was left off. Very excited that we will continue our parent information nights in the Special Services Department. And so our first meeting will be held with families on August the 13th at 6 p.m. Here at the District Administration Center. And so the focus of that will just cover the basics of IEPs. So those are the highlights I wanted to share with you this evening. I'll gladly take any questions or anything else if you have so.
Any questions for Dr. Dixon Seahorn?
No, but I think starting your year off with those SPED meetings and discussing IEPs is a great idea.
Thank you.
So that should be exciting. And to add another building to the Trauma Smart, also great.
Yes. Thank you.
So it's really good for our kids to have that kind of support.
What kind of, any examples from last year in Trauma Smart, what happened, or an example of something, outcome?
Really, last year was just about laying the foundation, Mr. Byrd. It really was about the consultant coming into the schools, getting to know the school leaders and their teams, the school communities. So it wasn't a lot of roll up your sleeves and get in the trenches last year. This year will be that. And so we'll have more things that we can share with you in terms of the progress. But last year was more about introductions, getting to know the school community through just various conversation pieces.
Okay.
So it's about laying the groundwork last year.
Thank you.
More to come on that.
Yeah, more to
I'm
come
one
on
of
that
your
as well.
stragglers, but I got it done. So after the Thursday on the registration.
all
But
right.
yes, so it'll get, I think a lot of people, once they remember August 1st, oh wait, I want my kids scheduled, then they'll
Yes.
get it done. So,
Yes,
mhm.
yes, and we'll continue to partner with Dallas and his team to
There'll be
continue
some
to get
good
the word out.
reminders, so in
Absolutely.
there. Yeah, so there's some good motivation there. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon Sehorn. 5.3 then is our finance report, and you will notice an empty chair, but she left me with some talking points to share in respect to her update. And really 3 things that Cindy wanted to share with you all this evening. One is to just draw your attention to our ongoing monitoring of federal funding and where that sits. Spoke with the Business Services Department earlier this afternoon as it relates to the large chunk, which is our IDEA funding, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act funding to support special education. We have received the majority of that for this last fiscal year, for FY 2025. As you monitor headlines and the news in terms of dollars being withheld from districts at the federal level, and then several local stories here, the impact for us that we are still waiting to receive is approximately $280,000. $280,000, which is again for FY 2025. So Dr. Meisenheimer is working on that in terms of projecting forward for this year. We feel those dollars will be released at some point. We're starting to see some of that already happen as it relates to some ELL funding, along with some before and after school programming dollars, along with summer school funding. So you're starting to see that trickle back into states. But for us, it's a total of about $280,000 within those title programs that we'll continue to watch. As you get past this next year, FY 2026, if those withholdings become more permanent, then for FY 2027 is when we would need to look at and go to the drawing board as to how do we continue those services through local funding or through state dollars in the absence of federal funding. That's a ways off, but we'll continue to keep you informed as that progresses. The next item she wanted to make sure and share was that our Business Services Department continues to work on closing out FY 2025 with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, which is a lot of reporting, closing out the books that then informs the annual Secretary of the Board report submitted to DESE. It's that process that helps us identify our revenues and expenditures, but then also our ending year fund balance. And then that leads us into our annual audit. And so that's coming up as well. Appreciate Cindy and her entire team for leading that process, along with the Audit and Finance Committee. Keep in mind, as they meet with our auditor later this year, the auditor spends time with the board, with administrators, but then also our Audit and Finance Committee, just soliciting their feedback if there are specific areas that they want them to attend to or look closely at year upon year upon year. So that's forthcoming as well. With that, we'll try to answer any questions on Cindy's behalf and certainly deflect if I need to follow up with her or the Business Services Department. So,
Can anyone answer the question, the higher than normal collection rate for property tax, like what that's attributable, like why?
I'd have to pinpoint that specifically with her. It ebbs and flows year upon year. Typically, we do relatively well in terms of that, getting close to 100%, not 100% entirely. I'll make a note of that and follow up with her to get an answer for us. So.
And then it looked like there was like 4.82% less expenditures as it relates to less in utilities, nutrition, and curriculum. And I just wondered if that was like we did that on purpose, like we lowered that on purpose, or did it just end up that we didn't spend as much money?
Typically, just as a blanket response, you'll typically end up with more than what was budgeted for. Okay. In terms of people not necessarily spending their total budget amounts. I know that's been the case, and so as we get closer to finalizing a fiscal year, Cindy's regularly reminding folks of that. Hey, you've got this budget, spend it, here are your timelines. Anything to add to that, Dr. Moore, from your vantage point?
Was one of them food? Was that what you said to me?
Well, it said less utilities, nutrition, and curriculum. So I just wondered if it was something specific that we decided not to do, or some
I made a note
program
of,
that
I made
we-
a
I want to say
note of
that
that
food
as well.
costs came down this year. That was part of
I
it.
believe that was part of it, and I do think it is, I think, to Dr. Tucker's point, where there's funds not expended, and I think one of the things that we try not to do around here is the year's winding down to kind of burn what you have left, you just turn it back in.
Turn it back in.
That's kind of back to that zero-based model of budgeting, so I think that's a part of it as well.
Okay.
I made a note of those and we'll ask
That was
her
a
when she
significant
gets
amount of
back.
money, so that's
Sure.
why I was just curious about
Yeah.
how that happened.
Well, if money can be saved on food, that's impressive. That might need to be taught in the community. Now, I think it's Governor Kehoe approved $497 million additional dollars.
Which I included in my report, yes.
Oh, okay,
So-
it's in your report.
Yeah, as we navigated that this last legislative session, there was a lot of politicking, for lack of a better word, in the legislature.
Did I read it right that he fully funded, or did I read that wrong?
Correct.
Okay.
There's a whole history lesson there in terms of how the formula
Give me a
was
little bit of
first,
it.
how the formula was first prorated. It never quite got to 100%, but then eventually the legislature said, we're going to call it 100%. And so that's been the tussle year upon year since then. That was back in like 2010 and 11, going way back. But in terms of the call on the formula, it's fully funded for now. And really, a lot of the credit goes
I read
to
that.
Senator
Lincoln-
Lincoln
Oh,
Huff,
yeah.
who's a Republican out of the Springfield area.
And I understand there was a coalition suggested two
Yeah,
parties.
several others
Maybe.
that were involved in getting that across the finish line. So appreciate the governor signing it, but then also all the work of our legislators throughout the course of the legislative session.
Now, but then I understand the governor took $3 million from Success Ready.
That's in my report as well.
Well, I'm sorry.
Two birds with one stone.
I guess maybe I read it wrong.
And the reason I mention that is because we've been very involved in that since the beginning,
Right,
since the
right.
onset. But then there's opportunity for additional funding through current DESI budget, we're hearing. And so we're kind of walking forward, watching to see how that plays out. Originally, there was a line item specifically to the tune of $3 million for Success Ready Students Network that was vetoed, along with other things.
Okay.
But now it's just a matter of where does DESI find those dollars to continue to support the work when we've been told that they're highly supportive of the work. So that's a wait and see.
Maybe
But
I
we'll
labeled-
share more.
Maybe I labeled my questions on
No,
the
you're
wrong
good.
category.
You're
Well, it
good.
is about money, so.
Well,
They're related.
since we're on your category,
Okay.
I think Grow Your Own was,
jump ahead.
Grow Your Own was one of the ones that the grants for that also. I
Was
believe,
cut.
were
We
cut.
previously had some state funds available to support those, and so then that is another item we'll need to explore over the course of this year and how to continue to support that program as it evolves, so. Any other questions from Cindy?
About Ms. Sullivan's
question.
report, any questions for
Back
Dr.
to the
Tucker?
question about the federal funding
Yeah.
potentially withheld, the 280,000. Just trying to make sure I understand that it's 280,000 that is kind of in question for this school year?
Yes
Is
and no,
that
yes and
how we
no.
think of it? Because I know their fiscal
Yeah.
year is different than our school year.
That's correct.
And so is that why you're saying that
It is in arrears.
the impact,
The payment is in arrears of the services provided.
So 24 was
24, 25.
funded.
So we're really talking about the 24-25 school year, the fiscal year.
so when they, so the federal government's fiscal year, if they pull back 280,
Mhm.
it's actually pulling back on 24-25 school
Something
year?
we've already spent.
Something that we've
Within
already
our
spent.
fiscal
Yeah.
year, that's right.
Gotcha, okay.
And so
Okay.
we've provided the
Okay.
services. It's just a question
Right,
of how do
okay.
you
All
fill
right,
that
that's
revenue
good.
gap?
So then when you say, by the time we wrap around to the next year,
Yeah.
it could be a bigger number.
It could, or a similar number that then becomes permanent.
Right.
We're not going to receive those dollars, but yet we're still obligated and would
Yeah.
want to continue to provide those services.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's just,
It's just
okay.
a shifting of where those revenues come from. Along those lines, the question mark around the U.S. Department of Ed, And those conversations, you can read a lot of different things, whether it's dismantled entirely or some of those programs continue under other government departments. So we're going to continue to watch how that plays out. But we are starting to see some of those dollars released from the feds to the states, which I think hopefully we'll see more of that. So thanks for asking that clarifying question. Okay?
Good job, Ms. Holden.
Thank you. I have some follow-up to do with her, which we will certainly do. Next is 5.4 with Mr. Anderson and his operations report.
Good evening. A few items I thought I'd pull out of the reports that are uploaded. First being, if you notice, the Health Services Department worked closely with Safety and Security and Counseling and Social Worker folks to develop a poster, kind of a unified messaging in and around our safety protocols and safety numbers, security numbers. That would be like 988, obviously, which is just was introduced a couple of years ago, when to call 911. Sprigio, which is a very, within our system, used across the district. And then really trying to bring and service up the 7777 number of our district security team, which is always, somebody's always on that phone. So we're going to put that across. I think it's going up here over the summer. And having one unified poster throughout all of our buildings.
In classrooms and
I think it's mostly in hallways and
Okay.
some of in restrooms and some of the public spaces, is my understanding. But I think others are involved in kind of with the curricular folks of finding the best places for that. Second, Transportation Department, as is noted, first they did receive again for this year the 25 Fleet Excellence Award. And that's just something I need to commend the team and the shop down there and the leadership team. They take that very seriously. That's an annual event that everybody gets a little stressed about, of course, making sure when they come in to do the inspections that they're fully prepared and ready to turn, especially when they're minor events, they get those turned around to not disrupt the fleet. So feel pretty good about that. The other thing is, if you notice, some rebates and credits associated with our propane system that we've introduced a few years ago, received about $200,000 in total. And some monies that came back into the system. So they're pretty proud of that, which is great. Hiring, this time of year, we're kind of bringing in quite a few new custodial managers, nutrition service, security, some turnover in security, tech. We had a couple of new tech hires. And one thing I just wanted to share that I've done over the years, and it's really picked up. I've been pretty busy here this summer. Every new hire that comes in that's in a leadership position, they come up here and spend about 10 or 15 minutes, and I just meet with them just to kind of, one, get to know them, but two, kind of give them a little bit of the lay of the land. A lot of them are coming from outside school systems, and so it's kind of a nice point of orientation and connection for me, of course, getting to know their names and kind of their stories. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit of a tradition we've been doing for the last few years around here. And then last, construction-wise, I won't get into all the detail with each project. I think the only thing I'll note is everything seems to be coming together quite well, but as is always the case at this meeting in July, as we now are kind of down to weeks before we start moving into these buildings. There are a few, they're going to be kind of down to the wire. We feel good about all of them. Ridgeview and Doniphan are the ones that are kind of right now, if you go into those buildings, are in the most turmoil because a lot of HVAC systems and roofing systems. Heritage, of course, is the first. All 3 floors of the 23 building right now are cleared out down to the studs, but they're not going to be done in there until later in November, so they're ready for that. And then Liberty High School is the other one. We've opened up that whole corridor where the cafeteria and the kitchen and the scramble areas. That one right now, when you go in there, it's hard to imagine in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or whatever it is, that it's going to be full of students and staff, but have been assured over and over again that we're in good shape. So we're starting to hear a little bit of concern from some of the building folks because they're seeing it, but it's kind of just what we always do, and we'll figure a way out to get it done. So just wanted to assure you all of that. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
there is a lot of work going on this summer. Lots of playgrounds, lots of stuff that due dates are like 2 weeks from now,
We're getting
Crazy.
closer. Yeah.
but impressive.
Other questions of Mr. Anderson?
Steve,
Yeah.
did I read right? 63% is what I think I've seen as the highest point of lunch being taken. Did I read that right? 63%, or I missed? I was kind of surprised about that number. Maybe I read it wrong.
Well, and I may have missed that.
Are you thinking in terms of meals served?
Meal, yeah, lunchtime, the highest,
That 63 of our population is taking lunch.
63% were eating lunch here. Did I, maybe, let me, hey, I done got the other one wrong, so maybe I got it wrong.
Yeah.
But, okay, that
Yeah,
sounds,
I'll double back on that. I mean, I'm assuming that, you know, if it's in the data, that's there for that purpose, so I'm assuming
this was
that's
only the
correct.
month of September, but that was
Yeah.
the highest point where I read it.
Okay.
And it was similar in 24, I think. Yeah.
Okay, then I would assume that's indeed the
Okay,
case,
where,
yeah.
where were the students leave campus that much and eat away from the campus?
No, they take their lunch.
Bring their lunch, okay.
That's what ends up happening. You may have a higher percentage on the front end of the school year, and then as things progress, for whatever reason, kids opting out, doing something different, bringing their own. You do have some traveling of students,
Right.
particularly at the high school level.
Sure,
right?
sure.
As they're going to different things across the district, real-world learning experiences or taking classes elsewhere, that might contribute to it some, so.
Okay.
I see what you're talking about.
Did you see it?
Page 15 of 36, it talks about average daily participation.
So am I reading it right?
You are.
Doesn't seem like a bad number, though.
Yeah, that's pretty
Is it, see, I don't know. I mean,
And that might be
I
anybody
mean, the
grabbing a la
highest
carte item.
is 63% in December.
say what now?
63% in December was the highest participation, but it's about 60s.
I would trust the numbers.
Okay, my observation is lunch is better than when I was a kid in school. I mean,
Lunch
yeah.
is fantastic, AJ.
I agree with some of the creative kinds of things that I see described.
And
So I was surprised about
Misty
that number.
Newland we got that new test kitchen, and I'm ready to go be a subject.
Can we start with that building
Yeah,
sooner?
I'm ready.
Where's it at?
It's over at the new distribution center. I'm
Oh,
ready to go
okay.
over, like a roasted
Oh, the test
asparagus
kitchen, oh,
is
okay.
on the newest items.
And
If she
keep-
ever
keep in
needs,
mind-
you know, like guinea pigs, I think several would be willing to help.
Noted.
Keep in mind that reporting of nutrition services data, breakfasts and lunch served, like that's a federal requirement as well.
Okay.
So they monitor that very closely in terms of getting that federal funding piece
Okay.
to help support nutrition services,
Sure.
a program, free and reduced lunch, breakfast, and lunch and so forth.
She is very meticulous about finding sources of money to help offset.
So if there were more kids eating lunch, there would be a higher response from the federal government?
Theoretically, yes, but you may also end up with a higher percentage of students with free and reduced lunch. That's
Sure,
kind of a
sure.
related thing
Okay,
that we
okay.
chase every year to
Right,
make
right.
sure
And it was on the
that,
next
to make
page.
sure that students and families are aware that that's an opportunity for them if they
Sure,
need that
sure.
assistance, so.
Steve, I know you mentioned put in the report about the wait list for Kids Zone. How are you feeling so far about Kids Zone wait lists overall?
Yeah, I just met with Megan last week. I think really good. I think that the thing, like we've mentioned before, is we've been hiring more of our students in. So when we're slow to hire, kind of in turn to the, as we get ready for the school year, that's always been the issue with the waiting list, is we're just waiting to get the right number of staff to satisfy that coverage ratio. So I think it's helped that we've been more proactive with students. And so with that, I think she'd mentioned that there's likely a few, but it will not be like it was, 8-9 years ago.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
The immunization clinic that Health Services Department helped out with,
Yeah.
do you know if there's plans to do additional ones of that? To be helpful with parents?
We were talking, I met with them this morning about the immunization, that clinic, and then also kind of communication that goes out about this time of year with families, and, just ensuring that they understand, what's expected, and if they do want a waiver, this is what is expected as well. They did not mention an additional clinic, but I think they typically do that as the start of school rolls around, if I'm not mistaken, but let me look into that. Yeah.
Just a lot of information.
Yep, you have lots
Yeah.
of stuff.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Anderson. 5.5 then, our HR report with Dr. Marriott.
Good evening. Hi. Staffing update for you. So far this year, we have filled 93 certificated positions for the upcoming school year, and we only have 2 openings remaining. That would be 1 early childhood classroom position and a middle school science position. And additionally, we have 44 classified openings for the 25-26 school year, which is right on par. That's across 7 departments, but we have filled 335 positions this year, which includes 80 seasonal employees that are hired annually. So definitely been busy in both those departments. To address those continued and current openings for both of those positions, we are looking at rehiring retired staff members, and then also potentially, if needed, looking at that critical shortage for those certificated positions. And then also utilizing virtual hiring fairs, attending community events, and social advertisements for our classified positions. And most recently, we added an LPS careers presence on LinkedIn. So trying to increase our presence on social media communication. Then the HR team has done several professional development sessions this summer. Several of us attended, or 3 of us attended, conducting workplace investigations as well as Title IX investigations and training. At our HR retreat this summer, we talked about what professional development opportunities we want to offer for our district leadership team, and then continuing the aspiring classified and certificated leaders program again for the 25-26 school year. I shared in the board report the investigations data, which is an annual compliance issue. But that just connects exceptionally well with the workplace investigations training that we participated in over the past few weeks as well. And then finally, I wanted to share that Team Liberty dates have been scheduled for the 25-26 school year, with our first meeting on August the 26th. And we are currently reviewing options for an interim facilitator so that we have a seamless transition for the school year. Take any questions that you have.
Questions of Dr. Marriott?
As you talk with your colleagues across the metro, I'm assuming that others are feeling the pinch of hiring too, but I would guess that we're probably pretty well positioned comparatively.
We are, and that, of course, I think depends on where they're located in the metro. I did participate in a meeting with our Greater KC area. It's similar positions. Special education continually is a challenge for districts to be able to fill, and then always working through any late resignations, retirements that would come our way, and as well as them. And then paraprofessionals are a continued need across all buildings and districts as well.
How does our rate of pay for paras go across the area?
So we do monitor that data, and we do share that information between all of the school districts in the area. We're very competitive, probably more on the higher end rather than the middle end, but we do monitor that.
And adjust.
And adjust,
as we move forward, which you all are instrumental in that process. As we share information with you and make those adjustment recommendations. So we're grateful for that, to be able to stay in the hunt, so to speak, in terms of remaining competitive, not just with paras, but with other positions that are high needs or hard to fill. So
Is that something that, and just have this thought, like we do Grow Your Own Teachers, is this something that we could implement a program similar, like to try to encourage our grads to fill these positions?
So a couple of pieces with that. We do the Grow Your Own Teacher, so that is specifically targeting our Liberty Public Schools graduates. We also partner with several universities. One would be University of Missouri in Columbia through their, it's called IMFR, which is their Missouri Partnership for Education Renewal. And they offer some incentives, discounts for staff members who want to go ahead and maybe pursue a master's. But then also we work with several universities on Pathways for Paraprofessionals programs, and that includes several universities across the state in which paraprofessionals who are currently working, depending on the university, but are typically eligible for essentially no cost to attend their programs, and through many of the programs they can continue to work as a paraprofessional and utilize that as their student teaching experience or their practicum experience. So they're, through the state as well as the universities, really working on innovative ways to reach people who are in education but maybe not with that certification on ways for them to achieve that certification. So we share that out with our paraprofessionals. Met with Dr. Stark this week. We talked about some other options and how we could potentially increase those opportunities for our paras.
And you still have a credit requirement from DESE in
Yes.
terms of the college credits that a person needs to qualify as a paraprofessional.
What is, do you know what that is?
It is 60 college credit hours for them, yes.
Okay.
So then that precludes you from graduating and then
And
going
being-
straight into that para role
Yeah.
to try to fill that path, right? But on the flip side of that, in targeting some of our college students, whether it's a student teacher, who we can do two things with them, they can go ahead and get their sub-certificate, or if desired to, they could go into that para route. And some do, but not very many. But those are kind of the two means by which really more focused on college students, as well as just parents in our community and advertising the opportunity, so.
Well, did I also read that there will be job tables, LPS HR tables at back to school nights to kind of hit up parents there, which is a brilliant idea, I think, to have, hey, you can not only send your kid to school, you come work at school for part of the day, like if you're interested, and so that's a great idea as well. So.
And that credit goes to Kelly Baker, our recruiter.
She's knocking
She's
it out of the
awesome.
park.
Yeah.
She really is,
Doing
and
a
she
great job.
shares new innovative ideas every week, and if I share something with her, she immediately thinks about how, if it's possible, that she could implement it. I don't always have the best ideas, but she'll be very kind and find ways in which she can kind of add those.
It's a team.
That's right.
You're part of it. So thank you. Well, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So, well, thank
She
you.
does a terrific job.
I want to go back to Team Liberty.
Yes.
And the facilitator. So, I mean, August 26th doesn't seem that far away at this point. Are you anticipating starting with an interim
Yes.
facilitator? And would the interim be somebody who would have zero interest in it full-time? Or are you thinking that this interim could evolve into the person for it?
So I think a couple of options there. So I believe I shared at the last meeting, and I may not have, but that we did receive some proposals, but they were all very cost
Yeah, that was
prohibitive
in
and
your
not in
week-
state.
That was in a weekly update.
Yes. So our best opportunity for us was to seek out if there's interim candidates or persons interested. We would want someone who has experience, who would fit kind of our need and is maybe familiar with, not necessarily have worked in Liberty Public Schools, but familiar with that meet and confer process of Team Liberty. And there could be interest if that person is successful, Team Liberty is happy, they, feel confident in how that person is doing over throughout this year, that they may extend that opportunity for he or she to come back next year, the 26-27 year, on a more permanent basis. So keeping our options open to see what transpires.
And that, in hindsight, just going back a little bit, that's what we've had as our structure in terms of an MOU with Michelle Baldwin on kind of a yearly basis. So that kind of is in keeping with what we've done previously. We actually, not to let the cat out of the bag entirely, we have a conversation coming up with someone this coming Friday. So we'll share more as we know more. So.
And it's not a common service, right? It's a little,
Correct,
a
yeah.
little
It's a little
nuanced.
unique.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that,
Yeah.
I can understand how that could be
Yes.
Sure.
difficult to find somebody with the skill set to come in and make
unique
it
set of
seamless.
skills.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I should know this, but Vector Solutions training is what?
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, okay. So Vector Solutions was formerly known as Safe Schools, and so those are video modules,
Okay.
mandatory reporting,
Okay.
drug and alcohol use, those types of things. Yeah.
Something everyone loves.
Yes, they do. They're very excited to get
Sure.
those every year.
Thank you.
Other
I'm
questions?
trying
Other
to-
questions
great
of Dr.
question.
Marriott? All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Lastly then, a couple additions, in addition to what we've covered already on my end for the superintendent's report. As mentioned, shared a little bit about Governor Kehoe and how the session ended in terms of our budget and kind of that standing and where we're at. So we feel like we're in good shape there. The Success Ready Students Network piece we covered off and kind of watching how that plays out within DESE's funding and where they find those dollars. The work either way will continue. We already have a schedule for this year in professional development, looking at taking a third cohort of districts before the state board, probably in September, for consideration of another innovation waiver request. Along those lines, at the federal level, when we were there in Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago, we mentioned to our Missouri delegation that we had submitted as a state the Innovative Assessment Demonstration Authority waiver request. We submitted that back in May. We've heard that we should find out in August whether we received that, and solicited help from our Missouri delegation of anything they could do in terms of whether it's an email or a phone call or a letter of support with the feds in that regard. So we'll share more information as we learn more from DESE. Wanted to also mention a couple items that we had participated in back in June. Some culminating events with Education Reimagined and their ecosystem lab, where that was a year-long experience to connect with like-minded districts and how we're working to be learner-centered in terms of individual student needs, but then also respectively growing real-world learning opportunities. So appreciate Dr. Moore in helping with that, participating in that event back in June in Chicago. As soon as that event was over, we started the High School Transformation Network with the Carnegie Foundation. Again, one of only about 20 systems nationally that are participating in that work, along with 6 states that are working on the policy side of things. Missouri is one of those states. And so as I've shared before, our sense is the state work and then the district work happening nationally will likely converge. And so we'll keep you informed as that work moves forward. DESE conference is scheduled for Sunday, beginning Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday at Lake of the Ozarks. That is really their kickoff event. So you know, their theme for the year is What We Do Matters, which sounds very familiar.
Interesting.
So I have shared some information that we used last year with the commissioner, and she thought that was great. So she was very appreciative. And then as soon as we get back, then it's back to school. As far as August and welcoming new staff, new teachers, retreats, leadership meetings, convenings, parent-teacher nights, all the way to opening day, and certainly convocation in between. So keep an eye out on your email for upcoming events that you'll certainly be invited to as we kick off the start of another new school year. Last thing that I would mention would be Governor Kehoe's task force as far as the school modernization funding task force. We've had 2 meetings so far, both in June. The next 2 scheduled meetings, one is August 9th, and then the next one is September 11th. And right now, it's a little bit of level setting, getting people up to speed. A, what the formula is about. B, looking at other states and how they approach school funding. This next meeting in August, we're going to hear from some folks from Bellwether, who have done a lot of work, not just in Missouri, but across the country as it relates to funding formulas. So we'll keep you all informed as those meetings occur. Work groups have yet to begin. That will likely happen later this fall. I think the hope was that it would happen or begin in the month of July, but that's been pushed off a little bit so that we can hear from the folks at Bellwether. But we'll keep you updated as those convenings proceed. So with that, any questions from the board?
I think we've already done those.
How many days
Okay.
have you been in Missouri in July?
We've traveled a little bit in the month of June and July, both for work and a little bit of time off. So, but still connecting with our team back home, certainly, and the work, and that it never stops. So appreciate everyone covering the bases.
No, thank you. Well, nobody else has any questions? Move on to unfinished business. Get some board policy updates.
We have a few of those on the agenda. So 6.1 are carry over from a previous meeting. So these you have seen before. You have 2 sets, policies for your consideration and action this evening that are listed, but then also a set of accompanying procedures that are for informational purposes only. So we'd share those with you this evening for your consideration.
Do they have any questions? I had a chance to look at these, I think, a couple times. Go for it.
Okay, I move the board approve policy EGAA, GBE, IGBB, KB, and KK.
Second.
Jen? Yes.
AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we have 6.2, lease purchase agreements. This was the homework assignment.
You have several documents that are uploaded under this item, along with several motions to consider. We'll turn it over to Mr. Anderson to walk us through this item this evening.
So first, all these were on last month's agenda, kind of were first introduced, not in complete form, but that's why we took it to the second read here tonight. And there's two very separate issues that come together in one of the agreements, so hang with me for a minute. The first, Clayton Holdings, is with respect to a bus lease, where we're procuring 15 buses, $2.5 million over a 5-year term. And so that is kind of, we've already moved forward with the purchase. This is just kind of put on the lease purchase plan. And just as a point of reference, I think we've done the bus lease purchase. This will be our 5th or 6th time that we've done this over the past 25 years, and it's a really effective tool when rates are a little bit lower for us to replenish the fleet. So that's that first item. The next item is the Bank of America lease purchase. And this is all tied to this ESCO programming, the Energy Savings Company program. This too, the district has done this. This will be the 3rd iteration of where we have used the ESCO function to help fund energy improvements across the district. We did a lighting upgrade back about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, about 15 years ago. We did a energy management systems upgrade with Synergistic. So this is the 3rd iteration of that. So the background of this, I think it's important because it helps, I think, pull together why we're using this tool primarily. So one, this whole first phase is all tied to LED lighting upgrades across the district, all scheduled to take place this summer and some bleeding into the fall as well. What we realized is we have 2 major roof projects that have come due, and we really need to act on them. And they're both to the tune of about $2.5 million or so apiece. And that'd be South Valley and Discovery. And we realized this would be a very effective tool to leverage the LED savings under the ESCO program to help drive and be able to put those roofing systems in. And why that's really significant is that $5 million worth of roofing work, if we did that out of our capital plan, we would not have a capital plan. We don't have that much set aside for capital work. So I think that's important to know why, in part at least, why we're doing it. And of course the LED function is it's a great tool for this program because the energy savings are very, they're real and they're very accessible. And so with this work, the projection is for round 1 here, phase 1, it's about $5.2 million worth of LED work. We'll see over time about $4 million worth of savings over the run of that term. So it pays in large a big chunk for itself, correct? The interest rate lock-in for that is 4.1%, and that would kind of carry us through the totality of that program. So that's that first one. That's the actual lease purchase agreement. The next is the bond request form, and that's just the associated, the underwriter services. It's the authorization for the performance bond to allow Schneider to kind of move forward with that on our behalf. And then the last is the Piper Sandler engagement letter. I mentioned earlier the Clayton Holdings, the bus lease purchase. We had Piper Sandler come in and help us both with the bus lease purchase and the ESCO account and help them kind of put together the financing and all the work that has to occur on that front. Along with working with Piper Sandler, Gilmore and Bell has been very involved as legal counsel to oversee this. Cindy, she apologized to me when she was heading to Alaska because she's been very, very involved on the financial side along with Jason Bright. And I've been involved, but I've been really involved on the work side of it. And that's, I'll talk about that under the emergency purchases section where we had to move quickly to procure some of that LED work so we can make some timing issues work for us. So all that said, there's a few actions here. Some of it kind of interrelated. Be happy to take any questions you may have. I'll do my best to answer them, but would appreciate approval of these tonight.
And I'll note, just for the benefit of the public, that we've all had these documents too and had a chance to review them, and so I certainly appreciate the willingness of your team to meet with anybody and answer questions too. So if anybody does have questions, certainly if you've got anything additional you want to share. It was scintillating reading.
Better than melatonin.
I required some coffee, I have to admit.
I told Dan when we came in, I was like, I was so excited when I got to the end of the 145-page one. And then I got to the end and there was like a 235-page one.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah, my only question is about the term, the 15-year for lease purchase is for that's the LED portion.
Right.
So how would that line up, how you would typically look at a roof? Would you look at it as a 15-year? I mean, I guess I'm wondering, do these line up term-wise also if we're using the potential $4 million savings to offset the cost? Or it just seems like, I don't know, I guess I would be surprised if we were doing a 15-year term on a roof, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, a fair question. I think the 4 million savings, just to be really upfront, like that money just kind of gets washed into our operating, right? And so this is just going to be the payments on these lease purchases, both the buses, we'll put that aside. The one for this first phase, for the lighting, that'll be about $500,000 a year that will come out of that capital plan. Phase 2 is about the same amount, so it'll be another $500,000. The term was set up a little bit longer, just again to minimize disruption on the capital plan because of ongoing capital needs. So there's a little bit of that juggle that goes on there.
But you could accelerate that.
You can accelerate that. But the lifespan of a roof would be more than 15, for sure. Should be.
Part of it's tied to the ESCO, the ESCO statute, which is a 15-year savings period, right? So, I mean, take
the savings piece,
and so
specifically is 15.
Yeah, so that's probably, I'm assuming, partially where that number comes from.
Yeah.
When you take the project in its totality, then it should be, largely paying for itself. So you look at the LED lighting, from an energy savings, a roof probably doesn't pay for itself, but it's part of the envelope of the building. So.
And I will say, and I've said this before when we've talked about this, and would be remiss if I didn't, that this helps us certainly. I do think at some point, whenever we have those next conversations around the next bond, we'll have to have a more involved conversation about some of these roofing and HVAC systems. We did quite a bit in this last round of bond work, taking care of older buildings like Donovan and Ridgeview, spending a lot of money at Heritage. But we grew so much back in that 04 to 09. All those are coming due, and so that's where these roof systems at Discovery and South Valley. So a lot of this, we're kind of hitting a pinch point on timing. So those conversations will continue. The Discovery and South Valley roof systems were pretty dire. We needed to find a strategy to get in there and take care of those. And this was a really great strategy or opportunity for us. I'd rather it not be 15 years. Not a fan of that, but I think it was really the best way for us to kind of spread those costs without disrupting the capital plan.
Other questions for Mr. Anderson?
Dan, I just shared with you, they're selling cars now, 10-year terms.
That's crazy. Don't buy it. Don't do it.
I'm not buying it. So, that's life.
Bicycle.
Yeah.
I move the board approve the state and municipal lease purchase agreement with Clayton Holdings LLC.
Second.
Jen? Yes. AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Move the board approve the master equipment lease purchase agreement with Bank of America Public Capital Corp.
Second. Jen? Yes. AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I move the board approve the engagement letter with Piper Sandler.
Second. Jen? Yes. AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. New business.
So 7.1, I know it's that time of year where we have spent a bit of time as a board interviewing potential candidates, some incumbents, for our Audit and Finance Committee appointment for this coming 25-26 school year. The motion language then this evening reflects the appointment and consideration of Elvin Holland, Kate Hamilton, and then Cindy Thompson to serve on the Audit and Finance Committee effective July 22nd, 2025 through June 30, 2028. So we'll just present that to you this evening.
These are our three incumbents, and does anybody have any comments?
Just appreciate them signing up to do it again and the work that the Audit and Finance Committee does. So it's
The
been,
volunteering that they do
Yep.
for the oversight on this.
Yep.
Yes.
So it was a pleasure getting to chat with them all again and hearing about their processes and so just appreciative.
I move the board appoint Elvin Holland, Kate Hamilton, Cindy Thompson to serve on the Audit and Finance Committee effective July 22nd, 2025 through June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Jen?
Yes.
AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, 7.2 is board policy updates.
Another set of board policies. This one we were anticipating coming as a kind of a byproduct of our spring legislative session. So some of that is incorporated into these policies. We received these from MSBA back on July 11th. The majority of those are presented to you this evening for first read. We'll bring those back to you in August, with the exception of JFCD, which is entitled Student Use of Personal Communication Devices. We have looked through that, and it in essence mirrors the statutory language that came through the legislative process this spring. Of course, the governor affixed his signature, so we're comfortable with that. The work then becomes ensuring that we're messaging faculty, to staff, to parents, to students, certainly, and those changes that are forthcoming. There will be a learning curve, no doubt, but we already have in motion some sample language, a one-pager, working on some frequently asked questions. So as soon as we received that policy on the 11th, last week shifted into, and had been thinking about it all along, but shifted into, okay, now it gets real as we begin to kind of formulate our approach for the fall as we roll this out. Keeping in mind that some of those provisions in the policy and in the statute have been in place in our campuses, particularly at the elementary level and the middle level. So it won't be as big of a shift for them, but it will bleed over into a little bit larger shift for our high school students. And as with any policy, when it comes to student consequence or discipline, it's a matter of enforcement and then certainly communication. And so we have some of those pieces in place. We'll certainly front load those for you as we get closer to making them live and pushing them out. But again, appreciate Dr. Moore, Dr. Van Batavia. I'm sure there are others that I'm leaving out for being part of those conversations and planning for that with our building principals and leadership as we welcome our teachers back, share the information with them, but then also convey it to families and prepare students for what that will look like. There is a companion policy that is not presented to you this evening for action, and that is JG-R1, and that's our student discipline. It has some related language in there. We make changes to that from time to time, so we don't feel as though it's necessary this evening to act on that, because we might change some of that language and verbiage prior to finalizing our handbook. Once our handbook goes live, we can certainly make amendments to it as time goes on. So we present that to you this evening for action. And the other ones, certainly just for first read. Anything else to add to that, Dr. Moore, as you all have navigated that this last week?
I think we just have to, we've had the conversations, and I think it's important to note some of the distinctions, like with elementary, as you said, we don't allow phones out or in middle school, but we also have students who walk home who might have like a watch with a GPS on it. So we're not going to tell a student or parent that a student can't wear a watch, something that like tracks. So we have to think about those type of things. So these things come into place. How do we handle those type of things? There's just a lot there. Digital IDs. Kids have digital IDs when they come back from a real world learning, when they come back from internships. they have to scan their phone for, with their ID on it to get back into the building. So there's a lot of that we have to go through with this to kind of get everybody on the same page. So there is going to be a learning curve for everybody.
How will Hall Pass work?
It's new.
That's another layer.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And so you can revert back to the old-fashioned, paper pass, green pass or blue pass. Or we can spell out what those exceptions are,
Okay.
right? And how we will leverage it and how we will allow for to utilize it. Whether it's a cell phone or whether it's a smartwatch. So those are all scenarios we've been thinking through, but then also the value in the one page that clarifies, here's what we allow, here's what we don't allow, and then also those FAQs. And there will likely be something that a parent floats our way that we haven't thought about that. We'll need to put our heads together, so.
And I'm sorry, just for the sake of the classroom teacher, is when you communicate this to the high schoolers specifically, I had this conversation in my kitchen for the last 2 nights. Will the students understand the consequences of breaking the rule?
Sure. So one of the things we talked about is, the policy talks about educational purposes. So what does that look like? Dr. Van Batavia and myself have talked to Dr. Camp and Mrs. Norris and Dr. Sharp. We've looked at as Dr. Tucker said, what does policy say as far as consequences, and then what does that look like within the classroom? What does that look like as it gets out of hand, so that if you don't take it away on the first time they do a student in school suspension, but what does that look like if it's repetitive? And how do we handle that with the students? And then how are we going to share that with students? So there will be a similar message that's shared at both high schools so that every student gets the same message. It won't be every teacher delivering the message individually. It'll be a similar message going to both schools from the high school principals.
From what I understand, there are teachers at the high school level who basically have this policy already implemented several.
True.
So.
Yeah.
they
And then
do
there
it
are
well,
others,
apparently.
there are others that use devices regularly, right? Whether it's coaches before and after school, or whether it's for a band program or a music program, an app, whatever the case may be. So, like, the legitimacy of the use is what comes to mind, and being clear about that. It wasn't too long ago, we all may remember, when we had similar policies in place, as cell phones were just getting used or becoming more circulated. And so it's a little bit of a revisiting of that, which some will remember, but others, this may be the first time. And so it'll be a matter of messaging and making sure that we're clear with students and families and staff as far as expectations and allowable use.
You've indicated that there are teachers already using a no phone policy already. So how's that going? Do we know?
I'd have to check with them directly. I can speak anecdotally.
What do you
I can
think?
speak
What do you
anecdotally
think?
from my own child's
Oh,
experience.
yeah, let's go with that.
In terms of talking to like him about the policy per
Yeah.
se.
Go ahead.
Dad, we already do some of this, in part, right? I think what will be different is the rigidity of the policy and the statutory language that says class times, lunch times, flex times, like it is bell to bell from the start of the school day to the end of the school day. Like that's the intent of the statutory language. So then it becomes a matter of, okay, teachers, when would you allow or permit and put it in writing for communication to families, the use of those devices.
Make it allowed if they
Right,
forget
whether it's an
something at
AP
home,
class or
they
whether it's a
call
band
me.
class, whatever the case may be. The other piece to it, just to make everyone aware, oftentimes a parent, and I admittedly have done this, will text my child during the school day, don't forget about this, or call me when you have a second, or whatever the case may be. The intent with the statutory language is, like, that doesn't happen bell to bell. So then that puts a larger stressor, as what used to be the case, of all of that communication happening through the front office. So you've gone from prior levels now to exponentially, they're going to get a lot of phone traffic, right? Potentially. So we have to be mindful and plan for that. as far as that front office, which is busy to begin with.
We did have a
So-
conversation that, you know, they are on their laptops and they do have email, so.
Absolutely.
You could technically email and.
Yeah, and that's something we talked about
And not be
reiterating
in
with
violation.
families. Reiterating that with families, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, to me, the difficult part is not in the classroom, it's the passing periods
Yeah.
and the lunchroom where.
In the restroom,
Who's
Yeah, where-
enforcing that?
yeah.
No staff member wants that responsibility. I can imagine that they want to be the hall police or the lunchroom or the restaurant. That
Which,
part of it
what
is-
you're speaking to is a flashback for what teachers and administrators had to do, you know, nearly 10, 15 years ago, when we had more of those rigid policies
Yeah.
in place. Which you're right, like, you're paying people to chase that down in a school, in a hallway, which becomes pretty tedious. So then how can you approach it with, hey, this has an instructional purpose, it has a social purpose, it has a relational purpose. And again, I think we're fine in the majority of our grade levels. It will be some of those older students who you're trying to put the toothpaste back into the tube, so to speak.
And
Well,
I think if they understand why, like,
Mm-hmm.
why is this important?
Yeah.
I think some of, you know, maybe the older kids will maybe grasp onto some of that. I think they hear all the science and they hear all of the, read all the articles and stuff too, so maybe
Yeah.
kind of speaking to them on a more adult level about why it's important,
That's right.
not that it's just a control.
I mean, I can make my daughter read Anxious Generation and go through and understand the brain science, but at the end of the day, she's gonna still ask for screen time and what, you know, I mean, there's a
Yes.
different level of reliance and dependence on those devices than there was 10 or 15 years ago because the phones weren't at school then.
Right.
But
Yes, they were.
so, you know, we're gonna have to deal with those issues, but part of the reason for, you know, we normally do these on second read, but this was a late signed bill, and for us to get them in handbooks and have those discussions, that's why we're doing it now,
That's right.
on first read, but it is gonna be, I think there's gonna be some, you know, learning curve, growing pains with it. Part of it is, you know, I think some of the initial discussions about legislation like this was to give boards the opportunity to make these decisions, and instead what it did is it says, hey, you're all doing this, local control.
You're mandated,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and that's not new, but it's new for this issue.
Just Dr. Moore, do you anticipate that any Wednesday time will be spent at some point in kind of troubleshooting this, or are we hoping that we won't have to? Like, I'm wondering if that's a possibility, if we start getting concerns around consistency of enforcement or things like that. I mean, is that something that would be a possibility?
I think we can have conversations. I think, again, it'll be more for Dr. Van Batavia to have
Okay.
conversations and kind of
Okay.
see how that's going at the
Okay.
secondary level more
Okay.
so.
Okay.
We will be meeting again with the principals here in the next couple of weeks. They've been asking, we've been meeting with the high school more so and been updating the document, having a running conversation on the side of the document about, you know, what about this question, what about this? Then the elementary and the middle schools have started to ask some questions, and we've said, we got you covered, let's get through the board meeting, let's kind of, you know, get through that, and then we'll start to update you, and then let's put out some information for parents, and then let's educate students. We think elementary and middle will be easier, and then how do we do the high school? And then again, let's see what we're doing. Let's see what we need to tackle. I do think it's going to be the hallways. Class is going to be a little bit easier. You do have the classrooms, as Dr. Tucker said. Some have allowed it, some haven't. So that's what you're going to have to. If you're in a photography class, they do use their phone.
Right, just
You know,
having a
for some of those
procedure
type of
that
things, I
shows
see that
demonstrating.
for educational purposes, they still allow that, but then it's
Yeah.
going to be, let's get together, let's see how it's going, what do we need to continue to do? No, we can't get more staff to to help, you know, do this, so what are the other things that we can try to figure out to do to help?
And maybe it's a long game. Maybe the sophomores, juniors, seniors are going to be really hard to transition, but because we're implementing this And all the levels below as they transition into high school, and that's the expectation, and it'll be something they're used to, so.
I think it's going to be a lot of your sophomores and your juniors. Your seniors are heading off. A lot of them are out of the building. They're going off and doing things that they're not there the full day. They're so busy doing other stuff. The freshmen are used to it. I think your sophomores and juniors are going to have a harder time. As we said, it's going to be from day one, here's the expectation. Let's set it. And it's, again, this is everybody. This isn't a Liberty Public Schools thing, but this is everybody. So we're going to make the best of it. But it's also not walking down the hall and, you, like, we don't need to do that either. But we do need to make sure that we're following it.
Yep.
Good thing.
In the discussions, is there any discussion about any change or clarification to staff? I know this is a policy for student use of personal communication devices. Is there anything that will need to be updated for them as well? Because it's going to be really tough to be the enforcer.
Right.
While you step in the hall and
I think that's going to become very obvious.
And we have some language in our employee handbooks around that, but it is a matter of reinforcing it, and if anything, modeling. Right. If this is the expectation for kids, then we have to do the same as adults. But that's a good point and emphasis. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Other questions on that particular policy?
I can't wait. Can I say it?
Go ahead.
I move the board approve policy J up CD.
Second.
Jen?
Yes.
AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And you'll see the remaining items then, again, as we get back together in August. 7.3 then, our LPS organizational chart reflecting 25-26. That is an annual item as well. Just a few tweaks if you combed through that. Note a couple things. Alexis Stark is our new Director of Special Programs, Special Services. So we want to welcome her, as was mentioned earlier. We want to welcome back Sarah Wickham in that newly approved role of Director of Real World Learning. And so we appreciate her walking through that process, and she's hit the ground running already. Also want to make a special note of Tanika Brown, who has been on the org chart, but she now has her doctorate. And so we wanted that to be reflected as well. Appreciate Nikki and Denise on working on that. Those are the minor changes, no major shifts with the exception of Dr. Cook's departure and Dr. Stark's arrival. So would share that with you this evening for your consideration.
Dr. Tucker, you just mentioned Chris Redmond would be another change.
Thank you. That was another one. She's been around, but that was exiting Kathy Ellermeyer and bringing in Chris Redmond and
there's
then
a new
Carla
assistant,
Hausman.
Carla.
Yeah, so thank you for that addition. I missed that.
I move the board approve the 2025-2026 LPS organizational chart.
Second. Jen? Yes. AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
7.4 then is our alternative methods of instruction application. The last several years, as we have incorporated virtual learning, virtual snow days, and kind of how we've kind of walked through that the last couple of years, we have submitted the alternative methods of instruction application to DESE to be able to leverage those virtual learning days. This last year, hopefully, was a unique circumstance, and that we hopefully won't have as much in this coming academic year. But we wanted to share that with you, and that we are, again, submitting that to DESE for their approval that then sets us up to navigate inclement weather as we enter into the winter months. Anything to add to that, Dr. Moore?
No, just the 36 hours, and they asked starting this year for board approval before it is submitted, and it is due by the end of this month for it to be submitted.
And it will be submitted and acted on by the board every year here on out, is my understanding. So just for your awareness.
And so I understand this is really more about how the content is delivered, not so much about on these days, we're gonna do snow days, and on these days, we're gonna do AMI days, and like the staging of that, correct?
Correct.
So,
It's essentially a commitment that we're going to do certain things, right?
That's right.
for SE.
Deliver via
Yep.
Zoom and, yes.
We're gonna teach their children. Nice.
I move the board approve the 25-26 alternative methods of instruction application.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Quite all right.
Jen,
Yes.
AJ,
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Drew.
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Karen.
yes.
Motion carries.
7.5.
I'll turn it over to Mr. Anderson to walk us through a few items under contracts and purchases.
Two items, one fairly minor, one I referred to earlier. The first is emergency or expedited issue we had with out at DMS on some concrete repair. We had to move quickly on that, so we did, and sent a Friday update a couple weeks ago on that one. And then the next one down is the Schneider Electric, the Guaranteed Energy Performance Contract Services. So this is that longer agreement that spells out in details every fixture as part of this work. And we had anticipated having that last month. Right after the meeting, I started getting calls because we pulled it along with the others, even though this one was ready last month. We pulled it with the other ones that had some issues, and there was a bit of a panic because it was really going to set off and delay work pretty significantly through the balance of the year. So made the decision, put a Friday update that we're going to move forward, lining up the procurement side of this in anticipation that we would approve the other agreements to move forward with the work.
Thanks for the explanation. I move the board approve the emergency contracts purchases as listed.
Second.
Jen.
Yes.
AJ,
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Drew.
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we're at legislation and advocacy. Just thank you again, Dr. Tucker, and all the superintendents who went out to DC to advocate for education with our federal delegation. So hopefully we will have good news in August about the IADA waiver. That would be fantastic.
We shall see.
So hopeful. So anybody else have comments about that or about advocacy or legislation?
No.
No comments. And then we've got some upcoming dates here. We're getting to host the Region 4 meeting for MSBA this fall. So that will be on September 4th. We don't have to go far. It will be at Liberty North High School.
We're planning on leveraging Liberty North High School. We are working with Nutrition Services on meal prep and everything. They've even done a test drive of what the menu will look like. So we appreciate. I think they're excited about it, quite honestly.
I didn't get an invitation to the
Well,
test
neither
drive.
did I, but they've done some sampling. They've done some
They
sampling.
need to run it by us first.
Right, that's right.
But we do have some planning with MSBA to be done on that, so we'll continue to work closely with them
With
for
great
that
thanks
September
to
4th
Angie
event.
for
So,
suggesting
As I
that.
said,
Yeah, Angie
We
volunteered.
never have
us.
it up here. It's always south of the river. That's boring.
So that was good. And then we have annual conference in October, and our next board meeting is August 19th, and that's always the day before the start of school. So it's almost here.
getting close.
Anything else?
I would just like to say that the day before four of our kids' senior year.
That is true.
That's right.
Have fun. Been there, done that, done.
I want to thank Dr. Marriott for sharing about Ms. Kelly Baker. I think you could have very easily taken that credit, but you made sure it shined on her. So and I heard some other comments about staff and what they're doing. I appreciate hearing that.
Yes. It's a great team over there.
And I think we did have our character trait luncheons and our Team Liberty assignments and our building and committee assignments also.
Working on finalizing that, so thank you to Denise. Yeah.
And if you haven't signed up for something, sign up for it now. And if you are going to go to the conference, remember, we have those governance things that is like a team building that we're looking at.
It's in Kansas City?
It is.
It's
in
down at
Kansas
Going to be
South
here
Center.
again, yeah.
Same place as it was last year.
Okay.
So Denise needs to know soon
Yes.
because we get cheaper rates.
That's right.
We do it by September, I think I read.
Okay.
Sometime in September.
So August.
What's the
I
date?
think Temple Grandin is the
She
keynote.
is.
pretty
Temple
excited
Grandin
about
is
that.
great.
I am
What's the
excited.
date?
23rd to the 25th.
Yeah.
Temple Grandin is an
I've never
amazing
seen her
speaker.
in
I've
person.
listened to her several times.
Oh. Well,
She's
thanks,
really good.
thanks to all.
Okay.
I will
Fast,
entertain-
fast summer.
Yes, it was a very fast one.
I move the board adjourn.
Second. Jen? Yes. AJ?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.